My name's Andy Mister. I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I make drawings. Mostly I make different types of work on paper using different media. I graduated from grad school. I guess, if you want to stop writing, you should go to grad school for writing. So when I got out of grad school, I didn't really want to write that much anymore. So I started focusing more on the visual arts. So I started making illustrations and covers and stuff for small presses. And doing more and more of that, I became sort of interested in seeing how I could take some of those more illustrative type techniques and make my own work. So, and again, I was just working out of my apartment, while I had a full-time job. Pretty quickly, I started getting a lot of images off of Flickr. And one of the things that was really interesting to me about Flickr was that, well, it was a form of social media that was purely visual. I mean, there were barely any comments or even really credits for photographs or anything. So around that time, I found that there were a lot of images on Flickr of both of concerts, of people documenting concerts that they had gone to, and then also of protests and people documenting protests they had gone to. And I started to see this sort of similarity there where the lived social experience was kind of equal to or as important as the documentation of that experience. And this sort of really clear visualization of the way experience was becoming mediated, and the way technology was both distancing people from their own lived experience, but also that technology was sort of creating a space, in this sense, Flickr itself, for a kind of different lived experience. So I started doing these series of drawings of different sorts of crowds. And those drawings, they were still graphite on paper, but they became bigger and bigger. Some spread over multiple sheets of really large paper because I couldn't find paper that was 12 feet long. I guess just for me, the reason why I started doing those drawings so large was that when I looked at them on a smaller size, they just didn't have the same impact that I wanted. And one of the nice things about Flickr was that you could download these images at a really high megabyte pixel ratio or whatever. So you could keep a lot of the detail and still get them pretty big. And I guess, again, for me, one of the things for me as the artist was to sort of be almost like a curator, culling through all these different images and finding the ones that I wanted to spend a number of months recreating and making larger.